Hello, my name is Nicholas Honecker. A few months back, my mother and I decided to do this documentary about my grandparents. When I was younger, I lived with my grandparents while my mother was away for the Army. I learned from them that when they were growing up, the adults didn't share a lot of information. My mother and I decided to do this in order to document their lives, in order to make sure that when generations look back, they're able to see what they have accomplished and what they have done. I hope you enjoy this as much as I enjoyed learning more about my grandparents. Okay. What can you tell me about your earliest memories?
What I think about my early memory when I was a little kid, I had Mama had a picture of me having short pants and something like a baseball cap, and I had on an overcoat. And Mama say, I think my grandma give me that coat, and but my great grandma, she passed away when I was 5. She was 113 and I was 5, but I don't remember her, neither my grandma, not too well. But I remember having a little picture. Of course, the picture when our house burnt down, that picture went away. But I remember having short pants, and the coat come out along with the pants, and then I on a baseball cap. And that's some of the first picture memories I had.
Okay. What memories do you have of your grandmother?
What memories I have of grandma? I don't have no remembers of them, but I saw some pictures, but I don't remember them. My grandfather, I don't know when did my grandmother pass, but my great grandmother, I was 5. Of course, I don't have much memory of her, but grandfather, he was living in the house there by himself. Well, Uncle Henri and Uncle Cuja living there, but my grandmother, I don't have too much to remember than them.
Okay, all right. Let me ask you, what do you remember about your childhood? Really, important things or things that stand out to you.
Childhood, well, I remember I first went to school at Tyson. Went and stayed with Grandpa Barry, and Uncle Henri, he was going to school there, because he about 11 years older than I am. And I went to school with him and a little brother. We called him little brother. His name was Horace Edward. And he was about 5 or 6 years, no, about 7, 8 years older than I. And we went to Tyson School. And then after I think about a year, then we started going to school up at Snowbag. And one Uncle Jasper's daughter, Henrietta, she come up and stayed with us. And I went to school with, I think me and Mary were going to school then. And that at Snowbag. And so we went to school there. And after about 8 years old, 8 or 9, we go to school, and every day coming from school, them other boy, older boy, make me and another boy wrestle, fight there every afternoon for a short period of time. And then they stopped that after his overhaul, his fence fell off of him. They stopped it. And then going to school there, we had, let me see, that was in the country there. Had the dirt road going there. And school was a one-room building. Had all the children in a one-room building, and so it had a pot-belly heater in the middle of the floor there. That's how we kept warm. And so then after we moved there, come to Collin, and then we still had a one-room school there. And then we went to, after got up about the 7th or 8th grade, we started going to Collin, school in Collin, and that was much better. But now, back what I remember down in Reachville, we were living in Reachville. Daddy, he was working in the tin time, shipping boxes. We had a little farm there, about 20 or 25 acres. We worked that and made our vegetables and stuff. We got out the corn, out the field. We did a lot of grinding cane. We had syrup and bread, grind the cane, make syrup. And then when we come to Collin, we didn't plant we did plant cane, and when we come to Collin, planted up to about 1950, 51. Last time I remember seeing any cane grow there.
Let me ask you, what do you remember about World War II?
World War II, when it happened, back then we had one radio station we would look at with the Grand Ole Opry, and we would there listen at the radio late that Saturday night, and cut a newscast come on there, cut on and said Japanese just bombed Pearl Harbor. And then next day, let me see that, yeah, that Sunday, we, no, that Monday, we had killed Hull, and we was out there killing, and President Roosevelt was speaking. Daddy, he let Uncle Cooge and Uncle Aubrey and the rest of them finish with working on the hall, cleaning the hall. He went in there and sat by the table, listened to the radio what President Roosevelt was saying. And then what I remember about World War II, let me see, that's late on when we moved up to Collin. We had land up there at Collin, and so someone come by there and wanted to rent. Well, they give us $1, $1 to rent so they can go out there and camp. The soldiers can go out there and camp out there. That was about the middle of about 43 or sometime, or 43, 3 or 4, 43 or 44. They bivouac back in our woodland back there. But what happened when they got ready to go back there, it had rained and they couldn't get back there because of water and mud and so forth. They couldn't get back there, so they went across the bridge over there that Color William rented over there, but they were supposed to rent back our field back there, stay back there. And what about World War II? They had everything was rationed. We had you had to have a stamp to buy so much stuff or whatever you're buying, like sugar, meat, so forth. You had to just buy so much of it. Couldn't buy like go to the grocery store and buy a lot of stuff what you want. You had to ration.
Okay. How old were you when Pearl Harbor was bombed? I forgot to ask that.
When it started, I was what was that? Let me see.
12 years old.
11.
12.
29, 1941. So I must have been about 11 or 12 years old when it come out.
Okay, alright. What do you remember about your teenage years?
What am I what?
What do you remember about your teenage years?
Teenage years? Yeah, we were living in Collin, and living in Collin. Of course, at first I was going to Dunbar School, and they had let me see, it was the people there. We had there was three, but let me see, about 4 boys: Jimmy Raymond, myself, and the other guy named was Junebug. Of course, they all passed away, and the girl there at school was let me see, Novella. Had a nickname Little Bit, and everybody running after Novella, and let me see another girl. Let me see, Catherine Carson, and let me see, and then after about 3 or 4 years, I guess, they moved the school, consolidated school. We went to Collins School, and it was much better there, because all the school, Collins, all the schools in them little country school, they had consolidated and went to Collins, and so it's a much larger crowd of children going to school there. Now at Dunbar, it wasn't about, let me see, I think about 5 families, no 6, 7, about 7 families were going to school there. Because at first, before we moved there, the government had it was something like Aberdeen Garden here, only that was farmland. Had 5 black families, 5 white families, and the government had bought him. A man had 1,000 acres of land, and the government split it up, 5 white and 5 black. That happened in about 37. In 42, Collins William had about a little bit on 200 acres, and government bought that, and had, so the government had 1 black family and 1 white family, and so we had 130 acres of land. Colored, the white guy, he had about the same, but and so that's where we got started, the farming there. They had 130 acres of land there.
Okay. What about your time in the Army? What can you tell me about your time in the Army?
Time in the Army? Oh yeah. I think I was blessed when the Korean War broke out, June 1950. And I was drafted in February 51. After I took my basic training, then I went to Fort Leonard Wood and took my basic training, and then after that I went to Indianapolis, Indiana, Fort Benjamin Harris, and I stayed there through almost 32 months, and the war was over in 53, about the summer of 53. In January 54, I went to Korea, and so I missed all that. I was blessed then, because I didn't have to go into fighting and things. When I went over there then, I worked I was in the MPs, and I worked at Pusan on the pier. Ship come in, bring in supplies. We'll guard the supplies on the ship, and then I made a rank with sergeant, and so I was in charge of the 3 or 4 people what was on the ship, and the ship got PX stuff on there, candy and fruits and closing. We had to keep them Korean from pilfering that stuff. We had to watch that, and so it was 3 or 4 people. I had 3 or 4 MP that supervised them. And then the good part of it, went on the ship up in the mess hall, and they always have PB&J, and they tell you help yourself, and that's where I got the PB&J from. Every night they have it up there. They had big cans of strawberry preserve up there. And then you put the bread in the toast the bread, get the hot bread, and put the jelly on it. That was like hot cake.
What about well, were you about to say something?
No, let me see. Yeah, stayed in Korea. I got about 15 months. And then time to come back, rank of sergeant, they could ask for where they want to go and so forth. And I choose New Jersey, Fort Dix, Camp Kilman. And then a couple of weeks later, they come and told me Camp Kilman had closed, and so they give me Fort Dix. When I come back, I went to Fort Dix, and most of the sergeants got to play. One sergeant, he wanted New York, and they sent him to Kentucky, but all the sergeant on up got where they're going, so I got where I want to go. And then when I come back here, I was still an MP, and come back in August, and then went home, had a month vacation, and that way me and Aldina got engaged, and
You didn't get engaged.
what you say?
Not until we didn't get engaged till September.
Then we got married December 25th, 55, and went back to New Jersey. And about a month after that, my MP company had I think about 80 people in there, and most of them was sergeant up. Had 11 PFC, 1 corporal, 11 PFC, 1 corporal, rest of them sergeant. Ranked top heavy, and so they had a meeting and said the people that was in the MP hadn't went to MP school, like Augusta, I think it was Augusta, Georgia, hadn't went to school there. They had to give them a different MOS and send them somewhere else. And so they had to give me 2 choices, because I hadn't went to the MP school, and one choice was go to somewhere in Texas, be an Amtrak driver, either go to Fort Eustis, Virginia, and be working the stevedore. And so I took Fort Eustis, Virginia, go all our people, my people, Aldine people, all was on the East Coast. And I didn't go go out west out there, and besides, it was close to him, so I took Fort Houston. They told me where it was in Virginia, near Norfolk, Virginia. And so I had 14 days to get here, and so we had a 14-day leave. We took Aldine home, stayed with my parents, and then 2 days before I was supposed to report there, that Saturday, I come back up, drove back up here to Virginia, Newport News, and went out to Fort Eustis that Saturday night, checked in, and then I checked in, but then that Sunday I looked around and so forth, and then that Monday we started work. And we got on that LCU, and went up toward Jamestown. When I come here, I've supposed to been handling material, loading up, lifting, unloading, so whatever it was. And so when I told him, at the first sergeant, said, I drove when I was in the MPs over in Korea. I wasn't assigned to drive one, but I drove the patrol boat at different times and so forth, because we'd be patrolling out in the river water there. And he said he'll talk to the company commander, and he got back and he talked to the company commander, and so they signed me to, I think LCU, one of those boats. You go up to the beach in the front end, go down, and you drive a truck inside of it. And so I was driving out the skipper of that LCU. I had 3 crew members. I had 1 deckhand, 1 in the engine room, and so I was the operator of it. And so I had, let me see, I had already extended my service for 1 more year. So we come down here and took training, and then that summer we went to above the Arctic Circle. Yeah, we took training out here, then went down to Charleston and picked up the new boats and drove them up through the intercoastal water channel up here, and then we loaded them onto a larger ship and went up above the Arctic Circle, stayed up there about 3 months. Yeah. Only time you have to go up there in the summertime, because it be ice up there, all iced up. And so we stayed up there a couple of months, and that was good. Cold. And then when we left, we got ready to leave out. We're leaving from where we were, Baffin Bay, going to Greenland. Got up that morning before you could see. Ice. Our ship got froze in, and so the Coast Guard cutter come and cut up. They say the cutter would be here about 8 o'clock. And 8 o'clock, everybody was looking east. We're looking that way. So the Coast Guard cutter coming in, chopping and cut our way through, and we followed the cutter back out, and then got to Greenland. Let me see, we were running out of, getting short on food. We had food. We had to pick up a lot of food. all the milk. We had, let me see, at first we was eating, let's see, powdered eggs. Powdered egg. Then we got fresh eggs, milk, and all that stuff. And then we came on back. After that, we come on back to Fort Houston. And then when we got here, then we got off and went home. Aldine was staying in the shed. I brought Aldine up here. I come up here and about a month later, brought Aldine up here. We were living with a lady down on 14th Street. And I got home that night. And so we had it was a nice trip up above the Arctic.
What were you doing in the Arctic?
See, they had, back then they had, they call it the dew line. Now they guess you got radar, different kind of radar thing set up. But then they had the dew lines, I think something like a radar, and it's so many service people stay up there all the time. And in the summertime, we take the stuff up, take the supply, the food, whatever, and they take all that stuff up there in the summertime and put it in storage there, in storage form. And that's what we're doing. The ship, the big ship would stop out in the bay, like somewhere out in the water, about a mile or 2 miles from shore, from land, and they unload and had the crane thing unload the stuff off the big ship on that LCU, what I was driving. There was a bunch of several companies had them, a bunch of them little LCU. LCU, you can run up to the beach, and a tractor trailer can back right in. I don't know about these new trailers. They're built back in the 40s and had shorter trailers. These trailers are not tractor trailers now, like they 50-something feet long. I don't think they're wide enough to go in there, but the length of them, cause they load you can drive a truck, a 4-wheel, a deuce and a half, but like the new trucks now with 40 feet of the 40 feet trailer and the cab, they won't go in there, I think, but the 40-foot trailer probably would. And then what we were doing, they had our stuff, unload it off the ship, put it on our boat. It'd be crated up, whatever, it'd be crated up. Then we drive to the beach, and then it'd be a crane there, unload it off our thing, and then they load it on a regular truck and take it to the warehouse. Their warehouse, put the stuff in the warehouse, and that's how the soldiers got all these stuff while the ice was in the summertime.
Okay, all right. What about after the army? When you left the
Yeah.
army?
After the army, when I before I got out, I wanted to, when I come from Korea, I wanted to go to New Jersey, close to New York, where I can get on. I wanted to be a merchant marine, going to ship, going hauling cargo around the world and so forth. And when I got out the army, the next day I went to. I got the bus and went to New York, to Brooklyn, to see about it. Of course, I had been writing them before that. See about it. Got up there in it. Didn't look in it like anything was coming up. I was just going to go up there that one day and come back. Because I had already put an application at the shipyard. And the application somewhere there. And then when I got back, I went to the shipyard. Let me see. I got called. I think when I left the Army Pool, I stopped to the shipyard and checked in there. And then when I come back, it was. How long was I out before shipyard called me? It was about a week, wasn't it?
About a week.
Huh? Yeah.
1 week.
Then I got the call for the shipyard and started working there. Worked there
1 week.
let me see. 1 year I was in the rigger, clean up crew on the ship. And then I got laid off for a month. I got laid off, and next day I got a job working with picking up the trash. But I didn't go at Newport News. I went up at Warwick. See, there was two different towns in Newport News, and Warwick was up there. I went up there and got a job the next day. At that job, if you don't show up, somebody else be there to take your job. So I got a job that next day. But I wasn't out but about 1 month. Then the shipyard called me back. And when they called me back, I went into the storekeeper department. At first, where I was before, I was in the rigger that was cleaning up the ship. And I went to the storekeeper, and I was working in a warehouse, storing stuff, getting it out, unloading the stuff off the truck when a large truck bring freight into the warehouse. We unload it, store it in the warehouse, and so forth. And then later on, they moved. I was at warehouse 2. I went to warehouse 8. And then, let me see. A lot of that stuff was classified material. And the people down in the yard, we were outside the yard where we were working. And people need material down there. If they're classified, somebody have to go with it down there, get it signed for them, make sure they sign for the material not damage anything. And so I worked at the yard about 32 years, and arthritis started to bother me. Of course, I worked worked at Sears part-time, about 25 years. And then I found out I had to have an operation. Doctor said I had to operate on my hip, both hip. And so, when, let me see, it was in 88, December 88, I had the right hip operated on. December 89, had the left one dead. And so when I found out I had to have the operation, I took the paper down to my supervisor and showed it to them. And I said, oh, and of course I retired from the Sears before that shipyard card. In the spring, when I made my 25 years, I told the people there at the end of this year, I didn't know I was going to be going out anyway. I had to have the operation then. But I knew the operation, my hip will bother me. And I told them at the end of this year, I'm retiring. And before then, in November, I stopped working in November because that doctor, when I went to the doctor, he told me you're going to have to have the operation set it up for sometime in December. So last day of November, I retired from Sears. And then when the last day I worked at the shipyard was that December, the week before Christmas, the day before Christmas. And no, it wasn't that. No, let me back up. I went last day I worked at Sears was last day of November, and then I supposed to went to the hospital sometime in December, and so that when I stopped working at the shipyard.
Okay. What do you remember about the civil rights movement?
Yeah, I didn't participate in it, but I was backing them though. We had, let me see. I know down at when I was working at Sears, when they're downtown, they had the main store. And then when you come out the main store, before you get to the outside, they had a cafe there, restaurant. And we couldn't even go in there, inside, couldn't even go in there. Had a guard standing at the door, and people were complaining about it. And then said people saying they go there shopping, they want to stop and get a cup of coffee, can't do it. And so that one in North Carolina, when them people had it set in at North Carolina, and then that started changing things now. But the one at Sears, I don't seem like when the turn changed, seemed like I went in there one or two times. But anyway, they went in closed that one when they were downtown. Yeah, down there, 25th, 28th Street. They closed that part of the building. And then we had now we would have them things like on Martin Luther King Day, and so forth. We have we go down there, downtown Hampton, and have that thing down there. But for Martian, I don't think I did any Martian. I don't think. But I'll back it though.
All right. What do you remember about the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Yeah, that one, the president, President Kennedy, he where the spy plane come in, flew over, saw things were changing, and then they went to President Kennedy told Khrushchev to remove them. They put a blockade. Nothing coming in, nothing going out. They were, Navy was stopping everything coming in down there. They was checking them ships, and and they had at first we thought that thing was something was gonna turn up bad, but he put a blockade there, and Khrushchev started moving them, because we had them, United States had them spy planes flying, and then the other kind of plane to back them up, and they started inspecting them ships. They started moved them things out of there.
Okay. What do you remember when JFK was assassinated?
Do I what?
You remember when JFK was assassinated, don't you?
Yeah. I was at work at the shipyard, and we heard it about 1 or 2 o'clock. Anyway, that afternoon, and we heard it, and then that Sunday, let me see, Aldine had already gone to church. I was getting ready to go to church. She would she go to Sunday school or what? Anyway, I was looking at TV, and they were bringing all walls out there from the jail, bringing him out to do something with him. And that guy, he hung around the police all the time. He pulled out, and he wasn't the police, he pulled a gun out and shot him, killed him, right on open TV. He fully shot him. But what I remember, that's something I saw that on TV. He pulled a gun out and shot him. But everybody, when they had the funeral, little Kennedy, the Kennedy boy, he was about like that. He's standing up there, saluting the flag when it went by. And so, I saw that.
What about when Martin Luther King was assassinated?
Yeah, let me see. I was coming from Sears, I think. I was working, I went up part-time. It was downtown, not over here downtown there, when I heard that. And then we started seeing all them pictures. They standing on he was out on the balcony on his hotel, and guy shot him over there, and then he got away, but they caught him though, and let me see. It was three or four had the picture. Three or four on the balcony there, and he fell down, and then they went pointing over there to that across the street there where he was there. Yeah, that was a hurting thing there.
Okay. What do you remember about the Vietnam War?
Vietnam War. I wasn't in that time, but there was a lot of people demonstrating on that about the Vietnam War. And they call them hippies, and there was a lot of demonstration about it. Didn't want to be over there, and of course I come out of the Korean thing. I stayed in the Korean. It was 6 years. Drafted for 2, signed up, volunteered for 3, and then extended for 1. And so I was in there 6 years, and I thought that was it. I know. But, Daddy, when I went in, Daddy told me, make sure you stay in there 90 days so you get what's coming to you. And so he went in, he come out 3 or 4 days before 90 days. And Uncle Buck, I think he come out one day before his 90 days was up. See, all the people lost all that, what should have been coming to them. But the people back there then, they didn't educate them, didn't tell the people what's down the road. And so they let them out, got them out, and that was it. Now, the Vietnam War is, well, it was a lot of demonstration against the Vietnam War.
What do you remember about Watergate?
Watergate, something like it is now. Yeah, I remember they having the investigation. The 2 people went and broke into the Democrat hotel there, or whatever it was, and then they found it out, and Nixon, he didn't want to go along with it, and so they kept on there, and then they finally got the Congress impeached him, and the Congress, what brought it out there, I think it was John Dean. He mentioned something about the tape, and it got a hold of them tape, and then they found 18 minutes was erased on it. I think, yeah, 18 minutes was erased on it, and then they, what they had enough to get him, so the Congress, they impeached him, but before it went to the Senate, Nixon, he resigned, come on TV and say, at 12 noon tomorrow, he resigning, he's stepping out, and so he didn't go to the trial. So the Senate didn't do anything because he resigned. But the Congress had impeached him.
Let me get it. I got it. Okay. So, how does it feel to be 90 years old?
How I feel to be 90 years old? Now that's two questions. First, I thank the Lord for bringing me through these 90 years. I thank the Lord for keeping his family in his hand, bring me and all of them for 64 years. I thank the Lord for all of that. Now the other part of it, we had back when I was growing up, on my mother's side, I didn't never hear anything about family reunion. Of course, on my daddy's side, they said that family reunion, what it was, daddy and brothers and Grandpa Barry, they would get together on that, whatever day of Christmas or when it was, they talk about what they've been doing and so forth, and we kids will be playing. And then in 1980, on my mother's side, they had a family reunion, and we went down there, and that when I bought that Oldsmobile, that diesel Oldsmobile, bought it that Friday. And the next Friday we went to the family reunion. Down to the family reunion, they had everything was written out. Dated back about back in 1800. I don't know, 1840 or back in 1800, dated back to then. I got the papers in that drawer down there. And then Sylvester Ashton, he was the president of the reunion. Of course, he was a principal at the Tappan County School. And before the meeting was over, he sent about 4 or 5 people in another room to figure out where they have the next meeting. And he said, don't remember the elder people. The elder people can't get around like we can. And so they went out and then come back in, and we voted in. They're gonna have the meeting in the same town, and eventually be in the same Tappan County. Wasn't gonna be going way out there somewhere. And because he said, remember the elder people. And then about 10 years later, we were down home down at Daddy's house. Of course, Daddy wasn't there. And we were talking, I don't get what we're talking about, something of them. And I mentioned You got to remember the elder. I didn't say elder. Remember the old people. And then Mary jumped out and said, "We are the old people." And then I jumped in and say, "I'm not old. I'm not old people." And I kept saying that all along. All they be driving the car, we be going somewhere, and someone in front, not driving like they should. And the first thing I say, them old people driving. And then one day, I had more than one leather. And one leather I just put on it. I had more leather. Took them down to the mailbox and dropped them in the mailbox. And then when you come out from the mailbox, then it's a 2-lane going that way. And the 3rd lane over there to make a left hand on Aberdeen Road. And when I pulled up there, the traffic light was green, car was going, so I had to wait. And then when the light turned red, it was one car in the 3rd lane up there by the crosswalk, walk over. And then, of course, the other car was stopping. And then in that 3rd lane, I'm sitting, that person stopped right in front of me, across the street now. I'm sitting here, and I look straight across the street. That car, old person, stops the car right in front of me. And so, and then by that time, the car was stopping there. If I could car had been up, I could have went on crawl. But then I was sitting, and then a guy coming in a small truck, he saw me sitting there. He thought I was going to make a right-hand turn. I had plenty of room to make a right-hand. He stopped and waved me to go ahead. And then I pointed to him and said, "I'm waiting to get over there." And he looked over there and saw that car. I'm not sure what it was, one more car up there or not. But anyway, that car, you know where to drive out, come out there and look straight across there. That car was sitting in straight in front of me. And if it had been one more car up there, that person could have went on up, cutting up. But I know it was one car at the walkway to make a left turn. And so I had to sit there until the light turned green, and they go by, and then when the others started coming up, when they start stopping, then I could go out and go. And they still coming. Now, when the light turned green, they went on. And then others would be coming. And then when they get the way they be stopped, they stopped up here. And then I look and see, ain't nothing coming, then I drive on through. And then that burnt me up. Now, that coming to haunt me now. We talk about the old people. Cause, and see, I can't do I drive fast, whatever it is. So, talk about the old people, that come back to haunt me now.
So is this how you pictured your later years?
Say what?
Is this how you pictured your later years?
No, years been good, but since last of '89, getting in the '90s, it got me on the slow side. But I thank the Lord for bringing me this far, keeping us safe, and brought us 64 years, and then the little tots. And so I thank the Lord for all that. But now, them talking about them old people, that kind of haunt me. The old people haunt me.
So let me ask you, did you ever think you would live to see the first African American president?
No. Earlier, didn't. But when it got to near in the 70s, let me see, when did he in the 80s, I believe back in the early years, no, but later on, I believe, there's the first lady, that lady, she was running for president, and then after that, was Jesse Jackson and somebody else. Then I began to think it would be, and then when President Obama started running, I know, yeah, this is it coming up, cause I voted in the primary. I voted for him. But back years ago, I didn't think it. But that first lady, the name, I didn't know that, no. And then Jesse Jackson, and then that preacher up there. And then after that, I began to thinking maybe, but when President Obama come along, I said, yeah.
All right then. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
What I wanted to say that about that age 90, I got that. That's what I wanted to put in there. Now let me see. I think about the land down home. We had when we moved out, thinking about how I used to work there. Before they put that road down there, the first we had tax beds in there, and we were walking. That's before we got a tractor. We started walking from in front of where the old house, not the house, where Yvonne built. It was an older house further down by the railroad track down there. and you can start walking from there. I go to the start flying a roll, yeah, until you get to the other end and get about halfway back. You done went a mile. That's how long the roads were. But now the Balk and Cotton, we didn't have them roads that long. We had go about halfway down the field, go, down the, we had Taft Bed. They start here and end up going over there. And so they had to keep the water from washing the soil away. But cotton, tobacco, and stuff like that, we made short road. Instead of going all the way down to town, we'll go about, road wouldn't be about longer from here down that little creek down there. And then on the other end, plant something, corn or something other else down there. But cotton and tobacco, they made them short. And then they put that road down through their highway, and that cut so the road not that long anymore. Yeah, you go down there. I stepped it off one time. It was, I stepped 5,280 feet. So, well, I think that's about what I finish up with.
Okay then. Well, thank you for your time.
Right on. Thank y'all for doing it.